You know that feeling when you're doing all the right things, reading your Bible, praying, serving, striving to be the good Christian, but something still feels off. Like you're stuck in patterns you know aren't healthy, but you can't seem to break free? It's like there's a fog you can't shake, a wall between you and truly hearing from God. You know the truth in your head, but your heart doesn't seem to get the memo. And you're left wondering, why can I not just move on already? Why do I keep falling back into the same patterns? Well, friend, if that resonates with you, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, let me just say congratulations. You're listening to an exclusive episode created just for the members of the Redeemed Perfectionist Facebook community. By being here, you're saying yes to healing, yes to grace, and yes to God doing something new in you. I am so glad you showed up. I trust that by the end of it, you will have gained incredible insight into what is possible when the fog lifts, when trauma is released, when clarity returns, and you can finally connect with God without all the static in the background and the striving in your soul. Yes, you may feel seen, but that's okay, because this is going to fill you with so much hope. I am talking with Megan Stevens, a woman of faith who is certified in a trauma healing modality called Timeline Reset, a gentle, medication-free process that doesn't require reliving your past to help you clear the noise in your nervous system, reconnect with God, and finally step into the identity and destiny He's been speaking over you all along. Her approach is deeply aligned with the grace-filled message of the Redeemed Perfectionist, and I knew she was the perfect guest for this special bonus episode. Hey sis, I'm Lenee Pezzano, host of the Redeemed Perfectionist podcast, and before we dive in, I just want to say this. I didn't start the Redeemed Perfectionist because I had it all figured out. I started it because I've lived it. I was the overthinking, overachieving, Bible-reading, grace-starved perfectionist who looked put together on the outside but was exhausted, stuck, and secretly convinced I was disappointing God. And I know I am not alone. That's why I created this space, to break up with perfectionism together and finally walk in the freedom Jesus already paid for. So let's get into it. Megan, sweet friend, welcome all the way from Australia. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Lenee. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's just so weird to me that it's nighttime here and it's morning there. I'm amazed at how creation works. I don't know why, but that amazes me. So, Megan, why don't we start with putting a name to your program? Can you help us with that?
The main modality in the middle of any program that our practitioners put out is called Timeline Reset. And that is the clearing of the negative emotions and limiting beliefs.
I definitely would love to hear more of your story, Megan. So tell us a little bit about how you got into this. What led you to this approach?
What actually led me to being a practitioner in this field was actually my own anxiety journey. I guess I'd had anxiety all my life when I look back, but probably never sort of named it or thought about it much. I just thought that was me. And then late 2019, I had been a suppressor all my life. So I would suppress how I was feeling, put a smile on my face and make out everything was all right. And I guess the end of 2019 could have been premenopausal journey as well, but my bucket filled to overflowing. And through that, my anxiety just went next level. I'm a very well person. I don't go to the doctors much. So my doctor's first meeting of me, we didn't know each other. I had a lot of pains in my stomach, and she started doing like tests and scans and things, and nothing was showing. So then I Googled anxiety symptoms because I knew
Okay.
how I was feeling in my head and my body. Um, and then I went back to her, the follow up appointment after my scans and things, and nothing was showing. And I said, could it be anxiety? And it was as if speaking that out loud, and then all of a sudden somebody knew how I was feeling. I spiraled. Through that, I got a very severe shake in my right leg. So when you're a suppressor and you're hiding and you're putting a smile on your face, and then all of a sudden you have a physical symptom to how you're feeling that you can't hide, it
Yeah.
started shutting me down. And I was very fear driven. And the only place my subconscious had me feeling safe, which I understand that now, I didn't
Yeah.
at the time, was sitting on the couch, numbing out, watching Netflix
Oh, my gosh.
for weeks.
It makes me think about how there just needs to be more conversation around the kinds of trauma and or understanding trauma differently. Most people, when they hear the word trauma, they kind of think of the big T trauma, but you talk about little t trauma. Where would this circumstance fit, and what is big T, little t trauma, and why is it so important?
So most people would look at trauma as big T trauma. Somebody went through a car accident or like something big in your life that people sort of look in awe of you surviving maybe. Little
Mm,
T trauma sometimes can go totally unnoticed
yeah.
because people tend to compare their trauma to somebody else's. But
Mm,
any any feeling, any sensation you have in your body that is an emotion and it's a negative emotion is a trauma, okay? Because you embody that emotion. Now, between 0 and 7 years of age is when most of our limiting beliefs and negative emotions have come from that age period because that's when we're learning, that's when we're growing. So the way I would describe this is say you're just a little child, like toddler or a bit older, you come skipping, dancing, singing into a room, and maybe your main caregiver, mum, dad, grandma, whoever was there at the time, maybe they had a migraine and they are sitting there trying to cope with the pain in their head. You come in making noise and bouncing around, and you're told to get out. Shut up,
mm,
get out, and you may be screamed at when you're not normally screamed at. So from that moment, that emotion wasn't a positive emotion that child
mm,
embodied, right? It's negative. So then from there, they get a belief system that it's not safe to sing and dance and make noise around this person. I'll be quiet.
mm.
So then they start being quiet. And from there, they get labeled as being shy.
Yeah.
They weren't
Wow.
they weren't born shy.
Mm. Oh my goodness. That
So
just gives
that's
me
what sets
chills.
us up for
Yeah.
adulthood because we're living from a 0 to 7. That inner child is still within us.
Absolutely. And just you saying all that, I can feel myself relating to it and going back to childhood, and I could probably name 4 or 5 circumstances right off the bat that I felt a negative response and then developed subsequently a belief system because of those things. And then you start accumulating these things over time. And oh my goodness, it leads to all kinds of situations and symptoms, I'm sure. So here you are, you've got this leg of yours going crazy. Was this the defining moment that helped you recognize your own need for healing?
Yes. And so I went to my doctor and I said to her, I think I need to go and talk to somebody. I need to just empty all the thoughts out in my head that had been going on for a couple of years before this, that I was trying to keep a lid on. I said, I think I just need to go and talk to somebody. So I went to a psychologist. Now, look, psychologists have their part, and I am not here to run down what they do, right? They play
Right.
a significant role, and some people need to go to a psychologist because they've never been seen or heard, and it's very therapeutic for them to empty all that out. And I
Amen.
thought that was going to be the solution to my problem. But I went there, I think I did 3 visits, and I came back to my doctor and I said, the trip down memory lane is doing my head in. I cannot do it anymore. Because you can imagine what my nervous system was like when I've got a leg that is violently shaking. So my nervous system was so dysregulated, like unhealthily. And to
Yeah.
go there and be taken back to negative times or traumatic experiences in my life, it
Mm.
was counterproductive.
Yeah.
It was ramping up my anxiety. It was just making it 10 times worse. And then she was putting her own bent on it. And I'm a ponderer. So I'd come home and just be going over and over and over this. And it really messed with me. It really messed
Right.
with me. So I just knew that that was not the solution. I
Yeah.
couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of the scripture to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You weren't renewing, you were re-olding. You were repeating and revisiting and yeah. And so, wow, it's a great example of how personal the Lord is, that what fits for you may not fit for me and may not fit for somebody else. And so
Yeah.
part of why I really wanted to have you on is so that within the Redeemed Perfectionist community, there would be some who would find this as a tool for them, but it's not a one size fits all, and that's okay. But I knew it could be a tool in our tool belt for sure. So, gosh, so good. So then when you think about common signs, like to help our listeners understand it even more, what are some common signs a woman is carrying when she has unresolved trauma? What might that look like, especially if she doesn't even identify as traumatized? Yours was the leg. What other examples are there?
They could have a lot of feeling in their chest or their stomach. I had a lot of feeling in my chest because I got to a point where I was very fear driven.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel that emotion there. Like their breathing could be erratic. They could have panic attacks where they can't feel like they can't breathe. They could be, there's other ways to show it too. They could become like OCD and
Mm,
cleaning and cleaning and cleaning and can't keep still, things
yeah,
like that are a trauma response. They could be people pleasers, which I was very much one, looking after everybody else and not you. That's a trauma response.
yes,
There's just so many varying symptoms, I
yeah.
guess, that you
Well,
can have and behaviors that
yeah.
are trauma responses. And for me, I needed to have everybody around me okay for me to feel safe.
Gosh, I'm again connecting dots over here, and as a redeemed perfectionist, I think about some of the behaviors that were common in my life that I finally understood were the result of perfectionism, which was actually itself a symptom of deeper fear and shame.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, procrastination or the need to control everything around me are a couple common examples, or the just being so driven and having to produce so
Or
much.
achieve or get the results.
Yes,
And yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Oh, I know
yeah.
any recovering perfectionist is relating right now for sure. You know, I have a naturopathic doctor, so I have done alternative healthcare for a very long time. And I also go to a regular doctor for physicals and things. But I was struggling with breathing, and she did a full body assessment on me and couldn't find anything physical wrong with my bronchioles and my lungs. And we traced it to a root of trauma. I was carrying grief. I had a situation happen in the last several months that caused me a lot of grief. And sure enough, I hadn't dealt with it and I was carrying it in my lungs. And as soon as we dealt with it, that issue's gone away. So that is just so
Isn't it
amazing.
amazing how our bodies are made
Yeah.
and how ailments and things show up in it? When you do some healing work and you start to become aware and understand a bit more, rather than turning away and running or fighting what's going on, we lean
Yeah.
towards it and think, okay, what are we being shown here? What is this telling us?
Yeah.
And what do we need to process here? And it's so different from being from a negative thing. Tame body is actually a positive thing because it shows you where you need to go or
Yeah.
your next step to healing and moving forward.
I once heard that the term dis-ease, which is the absence of ease, is really just your body's attempt to keep you alive. It's your body's
Yeah,
attempt to keep you alive. Your body is always wanting to be in that homeostasis, that balance. And when it's out of balance, it's going to send you all kinds of signals, but those can be really good things to point you toward freedom if we understand how to tap into that. So, speaking of tapping into it, are you able to explain the method and how it works, and maybe in a way that we lay people could understand?
it, it's a very it's a very simple but profound process, accessing the subconscious mind, but it's not hypnotherapy. And we make great change there. And then through that change, a person embodies that at the cellular level. So through the education part of it, and that we bring awareness to how the mind works and things like that. So then that starts to make sense. And then becoming aware can sometimes regulate the nervous system a little bit anyway. And then the clearing processes, I guess the only way I could describe it is it's like a guided daydream, getting the quickest results possible. It's a unique process. There's not just one thing that is in it. With talk therapy or medication, like I myself chose not to have medication, but that's my choice. I don't have an opinion or a judgment on that. And people have to do what's right for themselves, right?
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
talk therapy or the medication is a band aid
Yeah.
effect because our trauma is stored in our subconscious mind. And unless you go there and access that space, you're always going, like with talk therapy, you'll feel great and you come out and think, oh, that was really nice. But it hasn't got to the root cause. So then you'll
Yeah.
have to return. You could be in a system like that for 30 odd years or more, just
Yeah.
always having to go back and just never, ever really going forward. With medication over time, your emotions will plateau and that's flatlining.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need ups and downs in life for survival. That's how we survive. That's how we grow. If we're not growing, we're dying.
Sure. And I think that I can understand if some of our listeners, especially in the Christian realm, it can be scary talking about new things like this that are non-traditional, right? We don't realize just how much we still put our faith in man's ways. And again, to your point earlier, it's not that it's all bad or all wrong by any means, but I've learned to open my heart, knowing God will protect me, because if I'm always seeking truth, he's always going to lead me into it. And I've opened my heart and mind to other modalities, and the Lord's been able to show me he created us the way that we are. And the enemy played on that. And our nature aligned with the enemy. That's why we have to be redeemed. We're not born in the right state. We got to be born again. We got to have his spirit revealing things and leading us into all truth. And so I want to address the fears that people could have when it comes to this stuff. This is scientifically proven. Your subconscious carries the trauma. You're not conscious. It's not uncommon for people to not even know how to tap into their emotions. They don't even know what they're feeling because they've worked so hard at protecting themselves that they've compartmentalized it, that they've shoved it somewhere else. Now they don't realize that it has to escape. And so it may be for them escaping in the form of food addiction or sex addiction or drug addiction or alcoholism or all of these different coping mechanisms. And so it's just a reality that our body scientifically does this. And this happens to be God's way of saying, I'm going to teach you how to tap into what I've already created and just be transformed by the renewing of it. I'm going to teach you how to renew things so that you can be completely changed. And I don't want you to be afraid of that. Have you had to deal with fears around this type of thing, especially if people confuse it with hypnotism or things of that nature? Like, how do you deal with that?
I had my own fear around it. So how I looked at it was I was in a desperate place, very desperate. I didn't want to do the medication route. My doctor had me coming in every week because she wasn't sure that I was okay. And she said, well, if you're not going to do medication, you're going to show up here every week. And she still didn't think that I was going to get through it without medication. So I guess I was seeking an answer and praying for an answer. And I was determined that I wasn't going to stay stuck on the couch, right?
Sure.
And God placed this woman in my path. That's how I look at it, right? Because I don't know how we were friends on Facebook. We hadn't connected. I don't know how she was there, but she wrote a post. I read the post and it spoke to me. And to me, that was God saying, here, I'll put this woman here. This is your answer. And so I reached out and I said, can you give me some information on this? All I wanted was information. I reached out on Messenger and she said, it's not something that I can send you out something on. She said, I'll get on a phone call with you. And I immediately went into, she's going to sell me something. She wants to, whoa. And so I just said, oh, no, I don't do phone. I'm awkward. And she just came back and said, that's okay. I can handle awkward. I've got a time between this and this. Send me your number. And I guess I'm an obedient person. So I just sent her my number. And through that conversation, she had me at hello. And nobody does. I have big, big trust issues. I did have so many walls up. And somehow she just got in there. And the transformation, I had 4 sessions with her. And the third session had me off the couch functioning and the physical shake in my leg was gone.
And you never had to revisit your memories?
Nope. Never went back to any memory and never went back to anything. The person I came out of at the other end of the 4 sessions was so foreign from the person that came to her. And she got to witness that.
And even you sitting here doing this podcast, that would have been completely foreign. Is that right?
Prior to me clearing those emotions and beliefs, I would not turn on a podcast. I would not talk in a group. You would not hear from me. As I say to people, I lived under a bushel for 53 years. I was hiding under there somewhere. But
Mm,
I said no to so many things in my life that I didn't do
that's
because
amazing.
of my own belief system about me. And my self-worth was so low. It
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
almost non-existent.
Yes. Boy, I totally relate to that completely. I mean, the whole journey of overcoming perfectionism and discovering God's grace, it's really having to address the shame and the root of shame and the root of fear and coming into the belief that no, we really are loved. We just are. We didn't earn it. He loves us that much. And that was really hard when God started to show up with his grace and undo me. At first, I thought it was a counterfeit because it was too soft. I was so used to following rules and obedience and fear of punishment and all the things. And it was too soft. And now he's brought this sweet combination, the sweet blend of obedience is still a thing and it's still necessary, but it's flowing from a place of intimacy, not out of fear. And that's such a different way to live. So you look at the fruit of your life. You were off the couch in 4 sessions. You have joy, you have peace, you live in the moment, you can be present. What are some other ways that life has changed for you?
My whole family dynamics
Mm,
changed. And I guess through the work that I do now and the understanding, even the education, I guess, through those 4 sessions, made me aware of how the subconscious mind works. And
mm,
it's all around energy, it's not around words, it doesn't hear words. So if you've got a really low self worth and that you don't feel like you're worthy of love, you telling your children that you love them, the message that they're getting is that you don't love them because you don't love yourself. How can you love something else? So it was just
yeah,
words. It wasn't,
yeah.
there was no energy behind a positive energy because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't feel good about myself. So the whole dynamics of my family, yeah, the relationships, and my eldest two children, both of them came to me, my son and then my daughter, both when they turned 19 and said that they needed to do what I did. So they
Mm,
came to that just by seeing the change in me. And,
wow.
and so the life that they're living and what they're doing and what they're capable of now that they would never have been able to do because of their own self-worth and childhood trauma. And it doesn't mean that when we say childhood trauma 0 to 7 years, it doesn't mean that you're a bad parent. you
Right.
know Parents show up doing the best that they know how to do at that time.
Mm,
But I look at my own parents and my own journey, and I just feel blessed that I have been able to clear my negative emotions and limiting beliefs. And I've had this opportunity that I feel like God brought to me
yeah,
that my parents didn't have.
absolutely. Absolutely.
When you've got a dysregulated nervous system, the cells in your body are negative.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So we want positive cells for
Yeah,
health and wellness.
right.
And
Right.
so, even that to me is a reason to go out
Right.
and change, to do
Right.
something and not stay in that situation.
Right. Because, I think that's just the whole point we're making is there's a way out and it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to cost thousands of dollars. God, just like his gospel, things can be so much simpler than what we make them. So,
And
so
you think if you cut down, like, for my program's 8 sessions long, right? But you
okay.
can chunk it chunk it down and do like 4 sessions and then come back or do the whole lot, right? But you think 8 sessions rather than 30 years in a system,
Right. Right.
there's no comparison. And when you get a physical change in your body so
Right.
quickly and you're chalk and cheese overnight to
Right.
who you were, it's
Right.
just, yeah.
It's so worth it. And so, talk more about what it might look like to enter into sessions with you. What does it look like for somebody just starting out?
I guess somebody starting out is going to be like me, and I put myself now in that situation. So there's going to be a lot of unrest coming into it, not knowing. But the program is just so simple. There's education, which helps you make sense of what's going on. And that in itself is such a big thing. The education session for me was so eye-opening that it just started to make sense, and I realized I wasn't broken. And then the processes that are part of the healing part of that, as I said before, they're probably likened to a guided daydream. You don't have to be visual. I mean, the most visual you'd have to be is if you can imagine a pink elephant. But even if you can't, it doesn't matter. The other thing is that I would say is because I've lived the experience, I'm not coming from just a knowledge place. So I can hold my clients exactly where they're at because I've
Yeah.
been there.
Yeah.
When you've got somebody sitting there that understands you completely because they've been where you've been,
Yep.
it's next level for me. For somebody to understand that
Yep.
completely and to hold space for you because they understand and not because they just know from a knowledge point of view, it's just a whole different thing. For me to take somebody through clearing their negative emotions and their limiting beliefs, for me to physically see that light come back on in their eyes and they age backwards in front of me, it's honestly, it's the most rewarding thing that God has ever let me experience.
Oh,
And I just feel so blessed that I did this journey. He led me to the practitioner that turned me around. And then 9 months later, she reached out and said, will you consider being a practitioner yourself? I
I
had
love it.
no idea that I could do it. And I just sat there and said, can I give back to women what was done for me? Can I
Right.
actually do that? And so I have thanked God multiple times
Right.
for bringing this person into my life, but also for what I've been able to learn and grow and give back to others. It's just,
Mm.
it's the most
It's
beautiful place.
Well, and it's just neat to see how God's grace has really played a part in the healing journey. Do you have, and maybe you're not able, but anonymously, is there any favorite client story of transformation that still moves you when you think about it?
Yeah. One of my favorite stories, I mean, all of them are beautiful and I love seeing where they're living life now. But this particular one was this young woman. She had a 4-year-old daughter and she had become housebound. She couldn't leave the house. She had beautiful veggie gardens out the back. She used to go out and tend to them. And she couldn't even go out the back door. The only time she'd get in a car was just to drive, I think she drove her daughter to school, which was just down the road. Other than that, she couldn't drive the car anywhere. She was just so locked down. And then her daughter's behavior had started to really trigger her, or not her behavior, but if she was upset of a night time or couldn't sleep, it was triggering something in her and she just wasn't coping. So her husband would take the daughter away, like on camping trips and do things, but she wouldn't go. She couldn't leave the house. And I journeyed alongside her and we cleared her emotions and her beliefs. And there was a big family gathering happening, like they had booked a big place and were going away for a weekend with her husband's extended family for a major celebration for a birthday, I think it was. And she had said no, that she wasn't going. And she journeyed through this clearing and she went. And it didn't mean that she was around a lot of people. And so it didn't mean that she was totally comfortable the whole time, but
Yep.
she actually went. And she said when she was there, they had hired a professional photographer that had taken photographs. And she said she would have not been in the photograph with her husband and a kid if she hadn't walked through this. And part of the session, one of the first sessions I did with her, I got her to picture where she would be if she didn't have all these things. And I got her to go really deep. What would you be wearing? What would you be doing? Where'd you be? And she would be walking along a beachfront with her daughter on one of those, I don't know what you call them, the bikes that they have before they have wheels to get them stable bikes or something. But anyway, she'd be doing this, things that she didn't do with her daughter, right? And on that weekend, that happened. And all of a sudden she went back and thought, I pictured this, and she did it. And it was beautiful. It was just like, wow, she's now living her life with her daughter, with her husband. They're together when they go and do family things.
That's amazing. You know, we have an abundant life the Lord has come to bring us, and the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. I just want the listeners to know that there's hope. What would you say to the woman who's listening and maybe feels broken, overwhelmed, or skeptical that healing's possible?
I would say that they're not broken, for one. You're not broken, okay? Life has just brought you to this place, this season, and that it's very simple. It's not hard to get out of where you are. It doesn't have to be hard. And I would say, because I'm living, walking, talking proof that you don't have to stay stuck where you are.
Yep, that's right. And this kind of approach could be that gentle, safe approach that you need. So Megan, where can our listeners find you or learn more about working with you? Obviously, the ones that have access to this are part of the Redeemed Perfectionist community, and I am happy to connect them to you. But is there a website or an email that you want to share?
They can find me on Facebook. I've got an open account and I share a lot of value on there. And from there, they could reach out to me in Messenger.
Awesome. And your first name is Megan, correct? And then
That's right.
Stevens, Stevens.
That's right.
Awesome. I love it. So I think for me, what stood out about today's conversation, Megan, is just that it doesn't have to be difficult, that there can be a lot of things that fall in negative emotions, and it's all trauma. I mean, if it's negative, it's trauma. And that's how our body reads it. And that there is a way to tap into the subconscious and clear the things that are stuck. I think I shared this with you. I think of it as like when we're stuck and we don't even realize we're stuck at the subconscious level. It's like these files, these memories that did not get filed away properly. And they're just right there all the time. And they're running like a movie. And they're constantly running inside your wiring system, producing those negative results. And this is a way to kind of shut that all off and put them where they belong. So I so appreciate you being here. I can't wait to hear the connections and more testimonies. And for the listeners, I hope this has been very helpful, that you find hope in it, and would love to hear from you. Are you interested in more? Do you want to talk with Megan? Do you want maybe to have awareness classes that we offer through the Redeemed Perfectionist community? Those are things that we're talking about doing. So would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear ideas. Megan, any final thoughts for the listeners? Anything you want to say that you haven't had an opportunity to say today?
No, not really. I just want to thank you very much for having me here. And the biggest thing is getting this out there and just the awareness. And for those listening, honestly, have a call. Like, just get on a call and just see if it's for you. There's no pressure in that, but don't stay stuck where you are.
Amen.
Because it impacts everybody around you while you're sitting in a stuck place. And we want to
Amen.
be in flow. So, yeah,
Amen.
whatever it is for you, whether it's this or whether it's something else, do something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, this can be done online. It's not like we have to fly to Australia, right? Or you have to fly here. That's awesome. Well, Megan, the Lord bless you and keep you. We are so glad to have you. And I'm sure this will not be the last time. So until we talk
Thanks,
again,
Meg.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hang on, sis. Don't scroll away just yet. If this episode spoke to your heart, you can bet there are so many more who are craving this kind of grace-filled truth. It's my gift to every woman who joins the Redeemed Perfectionist Facebook community and says yes to healing. I invite you to cast this seed farther by sharing this community with a friend. There's someone in your life who needs to know that striving doesn't save and perfection isn't the goal. Freedom is. Invite her in. Let her hear this, and let's together watch what God does. Until next time.